The world is not fair. And the sooner you stop clinging to that fantasy, the sooner you stop being its victim. Right now, while you're watching this, someone less capable than you is climbing higher than you. Someone with weaker skills than yours is holding power over people smarter than them. Someone with half your talent is commanding twice the respect. And do you know why? Because they've stopped playing fair. Because they understand what you don't. Life doesn't reward fairness. It rewards ruthlessness. You've been conditioned since birth to play by rules that were never real. Rules written to keep you compliant. You were told to be polite while others were being strategic. You were told to wait your turn while others were seizing opportunities. You were told that patience and kindness would be recognized, while in reality, the world was moving forward without you. This is why you've seen manipulative people rise, while honest people get ignored. It's why you've watched charismatic sociopaths gather followers while decent people struggle alone. It's why you've wondered, why do idiots lead while intelligent people follow? The game is rigged, but not in the way you think. It's rigged against the naive, against those who cling to the illusion of fairness, against those who believe good intentions matter more than psychological dominance. 500 years ago, Niccolò Machiavelli pulled back the curtain on human nature. He exposed what rulers, kings, and power brokers already knew, but never admitted. He revealed the dark mechanics of influence, the laws that explain why good men finish last, while ruthless players rule the world. And today, I'm going to show you how to stop being the prey. I'm going to give you the lessons that will shift you from being ignored to being respected, from being used to being feared, from being someone who hopes for fairness to someone who shapes reality itself. But here's the warning. Once you learn this, you cannot unlearn it. Once you see how people actually operate, you'll never see the world the same again. You'll no longer have the excuse of victimhood. You'll have a choice. Become dangerously confident and untouchable, or remain a pawn in other people's games. I'll be real with you. I wasn't born ruthless. I was just like you, hardworking, honest, intelligent, and invisible. I had the right answers, but no one listened. I played fair, but others played dirty. And while I sat waiting for respect to come, it never did. Then I realized something that changed everything. The world doesn't reward intelligence, it rewards influence. It doesn't value kindness, it values psychological strength. It doesn't respect your character, it respects your ability to dominate the social game. That's when I stopped hoping, and I started learning. I studied Machiavelli. I studied human psychology. I studied how power actually works. And what I discovered freed me forever from a life of being overlooked. And that's what I'm about to share with you. Before we begin, I want you to make a declaration in the comments. Write these words: I refuse to be psychologically dominated by others. This isn't just a comment. It's the first step, a rejection of weakness, a signal to yourself that you're ready to stop playing fair and start playing to win. Are you ready to step into Machiavelli's Bacchus lessons? Are you ready to embrace ruthless strategy, emotional discipline, and psychological dominance? Then let's begin. Here's the first brutal lesson. Fairness is a psychological illusion, a trap designed to keep you obedient. Every time you expect life to be fair, you set yourself up for disappointment. Every time you wait for fair treatment, you hand power to those who don't care about fairness at all. And every time you play by imaginary rules, someone else is quietly rewriting those rules to their advantage. Think about it. How many times have you given respect to someone who didn't give you any back? How many times have you helped someone who vanished when you needed help? How many times have you waited for your turn while someone else cut the line and took what you were waiting for. That's not bad luck. That's not coincidence. That's programming. You've been programmed to believe fairness exists, when in reality, it's a tool used to keep you predictable. And predictable people are easy to control. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. He wrote, "Men should either be treated generously or destroyed, because they take revenge for slight injuries. For heavy ones, they cannot." Do you understand what that means? It means that half measures are fatal. If you try to play fair with someone who is playing dirty, you create enemies who see you as weak. And weak enemies are the most dangerous kind. They don't forget. They plot. They wait for their chance. This is why so many good people suffer. They push back weakly against aggressors, thinking they've stood their ground. They say, "Please stop," to someone who only respects power. They set soft boundaries that crumble the second someone challenges them. They try to negotiate with manipulators who only understand leverage. And what happens? They create the worst possible outcome. They look weak, and they make enemies who now see them as prey. Psychological dominance works differently. When someone disrespects you, you don't waste breath explaining why they're wrong. You don't argue. You don't beg. You show, through your actions, that disrespecting you comes with immediate and memorable consequences. You don't try to convince people to value you. You engineer situations where respecting you is in their best interest, and disrespecting you costs them something they can't afford to lose. That is ruthless strategy.
Because let's be clear, being ruthless doesn't mean being cruel. It means refusing to be naive. It means recognizing that when others are playing chess, you can't afford to be stuck playing checkers. It means understanding that fairness is a fantasy and power is the reality. Let me make this concrete for you. Imagine you're at work and a colleague constantly interrupts you in meetings. The fair person says, "Hey, can you please let me finish?" But the interrupter doesn't care. They keep doing it because you've shown them you're powerless to stop it. Now imagine the ruthless person. They don't argue. They don't complain. The next time they're interrupted, they pause, let silence hang in the air, then finish their point calmly, but with authority. Or they cut the interrupter in return, reclaiming dominance. Or better yet, they maneuver socially outside the meeting, making sure everyone understands who really adds value and who's just noise. That's not fairness, that's strategy, and it's far more effective. Here's what you need to burn into your mind. The world doesn't care about fairness, it cares about strength. When you stop expecting fairness, you stop being blindsided by reality. You stop waiting for things to get better and start making things better. You stop being manipulated by people who weaponize your predictability. The weak say, "That's not fair." The strong say, "How do I turn this to my advantage?" The weak ask, "Why are they treating me like this?" The strong say, "What consequence can I create so they never try it again?" The weak cling to fairness. The strong master reality. Stop waiting for fairness. Start building power. When most people hear the word ruthless, they think of someone who's out of control, yelling, threatening, lashing out in anger. They picture cruelty, aggression, or raw brutality. But that's not real ruthlessness. That's weakness, disguised as strength. True ruthlessness is not emotional chaos. It is emotional discipline. It is ice-cold control. It's the ability to feel anger, betrayal, or frustration, and then respond strategically, not react emotionally. Because here's the truth. Emotionally reactive people are the easiest to manipulate. They give their power away every time they lose control. If I can push your buttons, I control you. If I can make you lash out, I own you. If I can predict how you'll react, you are no threat to me. You are my puppet. This is why Machiavelli emphasized decisiveness, not rage. He wrote, Injuries should be inflicted all at once, so that their ill savor, being less lasting, may give less offense. Do you see what that means? It means when you must act, you act with cold precision. You don't flail, you don't argue endlessly, and you don't keep the drama alive. You strike once, calculated, final, decisive. Then you move on. Let's make this practical. Imagine someone publicly insults you in front of others. The emotionally reactive person explodes. They argue, they shout, they defend themselves. And in doing so, they validate the attacker's power. They've shown everyone in the room that their emotions can be controlled by someone else. The ruthless person? Different. They feel the sting, but they don't let the sting dictate their move. They pause, they calculate, then they deliver the response that damages the attacker's credibility while elevating their own. Maybe they ignore the insult completely, demonstrating that the attacker isn't even worth their attention. Maybe they respond with a cold, factual correction that makes the attacker look foolish. Maybe they use humor to flip the room against the attacker, turning embarrassment back on them. The point is, the response is chosen, not triggered. This is what emotional discipline looks like in power dynamics. You don't suppress your emotions, you master them. You treat emotions as information, not instructions. Anger tells you your boundaries were crossed. Frustration tells you something is inefficient. Fear tells you there's a risk to assess. But none of these emotions dictate your behavior. You decide, you act, you dominate. Think about the most powerful people you've ever seen. Did they lose their temper in front of others? Did they scream when things went wrong? Did they look flustered and chaotic when challenged? No. The most dangerous people are calm, controlled, cold. They might feel just as much as anyone else, but they reveal almost nothing. And that composure becomes intimidating. People fear what they can't read. They respect what they can't rattle. And here's the paradox. When you learn emotional discipline, you become more dangerous than any rage-filled aggressor. Because rage burns fast. Anger is predictable. But calculated silence? That terrifies people. Strategic calm? That makes others second-guess themselves. You want psychological dominance? Then master your emotional sovereignty. Let others lose themselves while you remain unshaken. Let others react while you respond. Let others burn out while you build power. Because in a world where everyone is emotionally fragile, the one who stays composed becomes untouchable. Stop thinking ruthlessness is cruelty. Understand it for what it really is. Emotional discipline, sharpened into a weapon. Here's the lie you were fed since childhood. If you're nice, if you're likable, if everyone likes you, then you'll succeed. That's a fairy tale. In reality, being liked is cheap, it's fragile, and it's easily exploited. When people merely like you, they assume you'll forgive them when they cross you. They assume you'll tolerate their disrespect. They assume you'll bend so they can keep their comfort intact. But when people respect you, everything changes. Respect forces caution. Respect makes them think twice before testing you. Respect earns you influence in conversations, decisions, and alliances, even when people don't like you personally. Let's be clear, being likable is not power. Being dangerous, being someone whose boundaries are untouchable, whose presence shifts the room, whose approval must be earned, that's power.
Machiavelli himself was blunt about this. It is much safer to be feared than loved, if one has to lack one of the two. Now, fear here doesn't mean cruelty or violence. It means authority. It means people know they cannot cross you without consequences. It means your reputation is not of niceness, but of strength. Think about your own life. Who gets the most respect in your circles? The overly nice people who bend to everyone's wishes, or the ones who enforce their standards without apology? Who influences decisions? The agreeable one who nods along, or the one whose disapproval actually matters? Exactly. Here's the trap of likability. Likeable people are predictable. They'll say yes when they want to say no. They'll forgive when they should cut off. They'll explain and justify when they don't need to. Everyone knows the likable person won't enforce consequences, and that makes them weak. Dominant people, on the other hand, shift the game. They don't explain their decisions. They don't chase approval. They don't overextend to keep others comfortable. They are selective, decisive, and uncompromising about their standards. And because of that, their approval becomes valuable. Their attention becomes rare. Their presence becomes magnetic. Here's the transformation. The likable person asks, will they like me if I do this? The dominant person asks, will this action increase or decrease my power? The likable person fears making people uncomfortable. The dominant person is comfortable with discomfort if it strengthens their position. The likable person seeks approval. The dominant person creates an environment where others seek their approval. This is the shift from prey to predator, from being chosen to doing the choosing. Now let's make this practical. A likable person says yes to every invitation, even when they don't want to go. They fear disappointing others. A dominant person says no without guilt, because their time and energy are more valuable than pleasing others. A likable person tolerates disrespect, hoping it will stop. A dominant person enforces consequences immediately, leaving no room for repeat offenses. A likable person explains and justifies their decisions to gain understanding. A dominant person lets their decisions stand. Others can adapt or be left behind. Do you see the pattern? Likability is fragile because it depends on others' feelings. Dominance is power because it depends only on your standards. Now, I know what you're thinking, but won't people hate me if I stop chasing likability? Some will, and that's the point. Because the ones who hate your strength were the ones feeding on your weakness. The ones who resent your dominance are the ones who exploited your kindness. Let them go. Let them hate. Because for every person who dislikes you for being strong, there will be 10 who respect you for it. You don't need everyone to like you. You need the right people to respect you. And in the real game of power, respect outlives likability every single time. Stop trying to be liked. Start becoming respected. Because respect creates gravity. Respect creates influence. Respect creates power. And in Machiavelli's words, men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. People don't judge you by your intentions. They judge you by the power you project. Project strength, not likability. Demand respect, not approval. Because in the end, it's not the nice guy who shapes the world. It's the one who understands that dominance, not likability, is the ultimate currency of power. Here's where most people sabotage themselves. They talk too much, warn too much, and act too little. They drain their influence with endless threats they never deliver on. Psychologically weak people are addicted to warnings. They'll say, if you do that again, this is your last chance. Next time, I won't tolerate this. But when next time comes, they fold, they forgive, they rationalize. And everyone watching learns the truth. This person is all bark, no bite. Once that reputation sticks, it's nearly impossible to shake, because people stop taking you seriously. They know you won't act. They know your boundaries are imaginary. And when your words carry no weight, you have no power. Now contrast that with the person of decisive action. They give few warnings, if any. They don't repeat themselves. But when they do act, it's final, undeniable, and unforgettable. Machiavelli captured this perfectly. If an injury has to be done to a man, it should be so severe that his vengeance need not be feared. Translated into psychological warfare, if you must enforce consequences, Make them decisive enough that no one dares test you again. Let's make this real. Imagine someone in your circle constantly disrespect you. They talk over you, dismiss your ideas, make jokes at your expense. The weak response is repeated please don't interrupt me, or gossiping behind their back, or sulking in silence. This only fuels their dominance because they see you're rattled but powerless. The decisive response, you let the pattern build, then you make one move that shifts the entire dynamic. Maybe you call them out publicly in a way that embarrasses them. Maybe you deliberately exclude them from something valuable. Maybe you flip the group against them, exposing their behavior as childish. Whatever the move, it's clear, final, and impossible to ignore. And suddenly, not only do they stop disrespecting you, everyone watching learns a lesson. Crossing you has consequences. That's psychological superiority. Decisive action is powerful because it creates lasting impact. One move, done properly, can establish respect that dozens of arguments never could. And it applies everywhere. Instead of constantly convincing people of your value, you demonstrate it so undeniably that it becomes impossible to question. Instead of begging for attention, you withdraw it at a critical moment, making people realize they need you more than you need them. Instead of repeating boundaries, you enforce them once and permanently.
Think about this. Would you rather be the person who makes 10 small, empty threats that no one respects, or the person who takes one decisive action that echoes for years? The ruthless always choose the latter. Now, this doesn't mean you act impulsively, quite the opposite. Decisive action is planned, it's patient, it's delayed until the moment when one move delivers maximum impact. And here's the paradox. Decisive people often act less frequently than the weak, but when they do, it counts. Weak people waste their energy on constant battles. Dominant people conserve their energy and win wars with one well-timed strike. So ask yourself, are your actions training people to dismiss you or to respect you? Do you give empty warnings that no one takes seriously, or do you build a reputation where everyone knows that if you say it, you mean it? Because here's the brutal truth. Your power doesn't come from your words. It comes from your ability to back them up. Fewer threats, stronger moves. Let people underestimate you once, then teach them why they should never underestimate you again. That's how you build superiority. Not through talk, not through fairness, through decisive, ruthless action. Here's the truth you can't escape. If you don't master these principles, someone else already has, and they're using them on you. Every day you cling to fairness, someone ruthless is rewriting the rules. Every day you let emotions control you, someone disciplined is positioning themselves above you. Every day you chase likability, someone respected is quietly building an empire. Machiavelli's lessons weren't meant to make you cruel. They were meant to make you free. Free from manipulation, free from invisibility, free from being the prey in a world of predators. So now the choice is yours. Stay naive, keep playing fair, keep waiting for recognition that never comes. Or step into ruthless strategy, emotional discipline, and silent dominance. Remember what you declared at the beginning. I refuse to be psychologically dominated by others. Don't just write it, live it. Because while you hesitate, someone else is already deciding what to do with you. Be the one who dominates, or be dominated. The game doesn't care about your intentions. It only cares about your power. Choose.